Hey, I'm Jacob, the creator of the AI Vaults newsletter. Every week, I hand the mic over to Google's Notebook LM to let AI break down the latest issue. So here's this week's news presented by Alex and Morgan.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we've got a stack of sources that is just, well, it's wild.
Oh, absolutely. I'm your resident expert for today, and I've been poring over these documents all morning.
Right, because right now, in a federal court in Oakland, California, a billionaire is trying to legally unbake a $134 billion cake.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
I mean, Elon Musk has spent the last 3 days on the witness stand, right? Suing OpenAI, Sam Altman, Greg Brockman. And if Musk actually wins this, it might literally determine who owns the future of the internet.
It really might.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't just looking at, a technological wave you can ride if you paddle fast enough.
Right.
Looking at today's sources from May 2026, we're looking at a tectonic shift. The ground beneath the digital world has completely cracked open.
Yeah, it really has. Okay, let's unpack this, because to make sense of this truly chaotic week, we really have to start with that courtroom drama.
We do, because it sets the stage for everything else. We are officially witnessing the transition of AI from this experimental, somewhat novel chat interface into foundational industrial infrastructure.
Like the plumbing of the internet.
Exactly. It's becoming the plumbing of the entire digital economy. And when something becomes essential infrastructure, the fight over who controls that plumbing escalates to a ferocious level.
And ferocious is the word. Musk's core claim here is that OpenAI, quote, stole a charity.
Right, pointing back to 2015.
Yeah, when he invested roughly $38 million to help launch OpenAI as a nonprofit. The goal, in his own words, was to act as a counterweight to massive tech monopolies to prevent what he called a Terminator outcome.
And his demands today are staggering. I mean, he's seeking $134 billion in damages.
Billion with a B.
With a B. He wants the immediate removal of Altman and Brockman from their positions. And most aggressively, he wants the complete unwinding of OpenAI's for-profit conversion.
So forcing the company back to its original open source nonprofit roots.
Exactly.
Wait, back up though. $134 billion. To a lot of people listening, that sounds completely frivolous.
That sounds like sour grapes.
Yes. It sounds like a founder who walked away and is now just furious that the company succeeded without him.
And, well, OpenAI's defense is arguing exactly that. They claim Musk actually wanted total control of a for-profit version of the company back in 2017.
Really?
Yeah, or alternatively, he wanted to merge it entirely with Tesla. They're painting this as a competitor, weaponizing the legal system, basically because he missed out on the financial upside.
Ah, I see.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture for you, this isn't just a bruised ego dispute. It's about the legal property rights of the most critical technology of our era.
But practically speaking, how do you even unwind a corporate structure that massive? I mean, you have billions of dollars in active investment.
Huge cloud contracts.
Right. Massive cloud computing contracts, thousands of enterprise integrations. If the court forces OpenAI to suddenly dissolve its for-profit arm, wouldn't every single company and developer relying on their API just be thrown into total chaos overnight?
Oh, completely.
Like their digital supply chain would just snap.
It would be unprecedented. You'd see massive service outages across thousands of software products. But the reason this fight is happening right now, the reason the stakes are suddenly so high, is because the technology itself has crossed a crucial threshold.
From chatting to doing.
Exactly. We've moved away from models that just answer questions to models that take autonomous actions.
Which brings us to the money fueling those actions. And the numbers here are, well, they're hard to wrap your head around.
They really are.
The major hyperscalers, so we're talking the companies building the massive warehouse-sized data centers like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they are on track to spend $700 billion on AI infrastructure this year alone.
Just this year, $700 billion.
And we're finally seeing what that kind of capital buys. I mean, Microsoft just made Copilot's Agentic mode generally available across Word, Excel, and PowerPoint.
And this is a vital distinction for you to grasp as a listener. This is not just a chatbot summarizing your document anymore.
Right, it's not just make this paragraph shorter.
Exactly. Agentic mode means the AI can execute multi-step workflows end-to-end without your intervention.
Wow.
If you dump a mess of raw CSV files into Excel and ask it to rebuild your analytical logic, It doesn't just give you a formula to copy and paste.
Oh, it actually does the work.
It actively writes the code, restructures the data, spots its own errors, fixes them, and generates the final dashboard.
And the early data on this shift is wild. During the preview phase, Microsoft saw Excel engagement grow by 67%.
That's massive for a legacy product like Excel.
Right, and user satisfaction shot up by 65%. People are eagerly letting the AI take the wheel. But obviously, if you have AI agents running around your company's network, executing tasks, spending company resources, IT departments are going to panic.
Oh, they are panicking. You're introducing autonomous actors into secure environments. That's why Microsoft concurrently launched Agent 365.
For $15 a user per month, right?
Yeah, $15. It's an enterprise control plane designed to govern all this shadow AI. It even features Windows 365 for agents.
Wait, what does that mean? Windows for agents?
They're essentially isolated cloud PCs built specifically for AI agents to operate within, so they don't break the actual human user's machine.
That is wild. It sounds like we're moving from treating AI as an encyclopedia you query to treating it as an intern you manage.
That's a perfect analogy.
And this isn't just happening at work. OpenAI just released GPT 5.5. It's smarter, faster, cheaper to run. But the rumors are swirling that OpenAI has partnered with hardware giants, Qualcomm, MediaTek, and Luxshare to build a completely app-free smartphone by 2028.
An app-free phone.
Yeah. You wouldn't tap an Uber app or a banking app. The agents would just orchestrate those services in the background based on what you want to do.
What's fascinating here is that we're witnessing the death of the traditional application. The agent is becoming an active, persistent participant in your digital life.
Rather than a tool you pick up and put down.
Exactly. And we're even seeing this sociology bleed into how we talk to each other.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because we have to talk about the app Shapes.
Oh, yes, Shapes.
They just raised $8 million. And instead of you talking one-on-one with an AI, Shapes drops AI characters directly into your human group chat.
Which sounds incredibly intrusive at first.
Right. But their stated goal is to cure what they're calling AI psychosis.
Right. AI psychosis being the isolation and emotional detachment people are experiencing from spending too much time talking to hyper-agreeable, one-on-one AI companions.
Because the AI never disagrees with you.
Exactly. It strips away the healthy friction of human relationships.
So to fix that, they add the AI to a human group chat to act as a facilitator. But I have to ask, are we just creating hyper-competent imaginary friends to keep our conversations from dying?
It's a profound sociological shift. You know, we're utilizing synthetic intelligence to mediate human intimacy.
It's a bit dystopian.
It is. But letting an autonomous agent manage your spreadsheet or spice up your group chat is one thing. If it hallucinates there, you might miss a meeting or set a weird text.
Right, low stakes.
But it is an entirely different conversation when we look at domains where the stakes are literal life, death, and national security.
The stakes are everything there. Let's look at medicine first. OpenAI just launched ChatGPT for Clinicians, offering free access to U.S. medical professionals.
Yeah, and what makes this different from regular ChatGPT is the underlying data. It strictly relies on peer-reviewed PubMed and FDA data.
And in their testing, it actually scored higher than human doctors on the Health Bench Professional benchmark.
It did. But, you know, the more sophisticated approach to medical truth is coming from a tool called Consensus.
Right, I saw this in the stack.
Yeah, Consensus is a search engine built on 200 million peer-reviewed papers. They utilize a multi-agent system called a scholar agent. And what is brilliant here is their consensus meter.
Oh, this is so cool. Explain how this works.
Instead of giving you one highly confident but potentially flawed answer, it visually displays exactly how much scientific agreement or disagreement exists on a specific medical intervention across all the published literature.
So it embraces the nuance rather than erasing it.
Exactly. It maps it out for you.
So medicine is finding clever ways to visually map out scientific consensus and verify the data. But the defense sector is accelerating in a vastly different direction, and the contrast is pretty jarring.
Very jarring.
Now, to impartially look at what is happening at the Pentagon, just sticking to the facts and the sources, the Department of Defense has signed classified AI deals with 7 major tech firms.
7 of them.
And to understand the scale of this, the 2027 defense budget requests $54.6 billion specifically for the Defense Autonomous Warfare Group.
$54 billion.
That is a 24,000% increase from prior years.
And the sheer velocity of that military build-out has triggered a massive internal backlash within the tech companies themselves. Over 580 Google employees, including senior researchers from Google DeepMind, are openly protesting Google's classified military AI deal.
And their core argument is about the physical mechanism of how classified networks operate, right? They point out that military systems are air-gapped.
Right, air gap.
Meaning they are physically completely disconnected from the outside internet for security reasons. And because of that air gap, Google has absolutely no way to monitor the API calls or see how the military is actually using the AI.
Which means the only guardrail preventing the AI from being used for autonomous targeting or mass surveillance is a trust us assurance from the military.
It's just an honor system, basically.
Exactly. Google's internal ethical guidelines become literally unenforceable once the software crosses that air gap.
Think about the massive contrast here. 8 years ago, in 2018, Google employees protested Project Maven, which was a military computer vision contract. And they won. Google dropped the contract.
They did.
Fast forward to today, in 2026. Google have already deployed its Gemini AI to 3 million unclassified Pentagon personnel. And despite the current employee protests, they are actively negotiating terms for all lawful uses on classified networks.
And this raises an important question about corporate power and leverage, What changed between 2018 and 2026?
The money.
Exactly. The underlying technology didn't just get smarter, it became infinitely more lucrative. The gap between internal employee dissent and corporate decision-making has widened drastically.
Right.
Because a $54 billion defense budget overrides internal leverage.
We actually saw this exact dynamic play out with Anthropic. Anthropic strictly refused to remove their safety restrictions regarding autonomous weapons. As a result, the Pentagon blacklisted them. But hours later, OpenAI stepped in and signed a deal to fill the void. The economic incentives to deploy this technology are simply overpowering the internal safety guardrails.
And those same economic incentives are fueling a brutal, multi-billion-dollar war over cloud infrastructure and compute costs among the tech giants.
Yeah, to secure these massive enterprise and government contracts, the tech giants are throwing around unbelievable sums of money. I mean, Google is investing up to $40 billion in Anthropic.
$40 billion.
And part of that deal involves supplying Anthropic with 5 gigawatts of compute capacity.
Which, just to put that in perspective for you, 5 gigawatts is enough electricity to power several major cities.
It's insane. Meanwhile, OpenAI ended its long-standing exclusivity agreement with Microsoft. They struck a new deal that caps Microsoft's revenue share, but grants them a non-exclusive IP license through 2032.
Right, and this was a strategic move by OpenAI to free themselves up to deploy their models on Amazon's AWS Bedrock.
To fulfill a $50 billion deal with Amazon.
Yes.
But here is the massive twist in all of this. While the Western giants are throwing around tens of billions of dollars to build bigger and bigger models, a new challenger has emerged that is completely undercutting their entire business model.
DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, a Chinese AI lab, just released their V4 models, Pro and Flash.
And the technical specifications are staggering. It is a 1.6 trillion parameter model with a 1 million token context window.
Okay, demystify that jargon for us.
Right, so a 1 million token context window means you can hand the AI a dozen massive textbooks simultaneously, and it can hold all that information in its active memory while it works without forgetting the first page.
Wow. But the real headline isn't the memory, it's the cost. DeepSeek V4 Pro costs just $1.74 per million input tokens.
Which is roughly 1/7 the cost of Western frontier models like Claude Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5.
1/7. And DeepSeek is surprisingly transparent about this. They openly admit in their release that V4 Pro actually trails GPT 5.4 by about 3 to 6 months in terms of general bleeding-edge intelligence.
Yeah, but the mechanism behind their cheap pricing is architectural efficiency. They achieve this performance using only 10 to 27% of the computational horsepower, the FLOPs, compared to Western models.
So they aren't brute forcing the intelligence by burning more electricity.
Exactly. They are coding it more efficiently.
So we have Google dropping $40 billion on Anthropic, while DeepSeek is handing out massive, highly capable models at bargain bin prices. If you're a startup trying to process millions of documents, or a company running a high-volume coding pipeline, you don't really care if the AI is 3 months behind the cutting edge, right?
A lot if it's 7 times cheaper.
Exactly.
Right.
Are we looking at a race to the bottom for AI pricing, similar to what happened with cloud storage a decade ago?
It very well might be. Raw intelligence at the margin is becoming commoditized. And as intelligence becomes incredibly cheap and deeply embedded into our systems as autonomous agents, the burden of managing it shifts entirely to you, the user.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? With all this cheap agentic AI at your fingertips, how do you actually wield it without drowning in bad, shallow, or hallucinated outputs?
Right.
Because if the AI is just a highly competent but totally unfocused intern, how do you manage it? Our sources highlight a whole new frontier of advanced prompting techniques that go way beyond just, typing a question.
We have to understand why these techniques are necessary first. Large language models are fundamentally autoregressive pattern matchers.
Okay.
That means they simply predict the next word based on their training data. If you don't constrain them with explicit structures, their default bias is to sound highly fluent and confident, even when their underlying reasoning is shallow or just entirely flawed.
Okay, so let's look at how to build those constraints. Say you have a piece of writing and you ask the AI to fix it. Usually it just changes a few commas and completely flattens out your voice.
Yeah, makes it sound robotic.
Exactly. To fix this, you use RSIP, or recursive self-improvement prompting.
Love this one.
Yeah, instead of accepting the first draft, you force the model to critique and revise its own output over 2 or 3 iterations. But the crucial mechanism here is giving it different criteria for each pass. For instance, in Pass 1, you demand it critique only factual accuracy. Then in Pass 2, demand it critique only logical flow.
Because if you don't separate the criteria, the pattern matcher will just gravitate toward surface-level grammar fixes and ignore the deep structural flaws.
Right.
Now, what happens when you give an AI a highly complex problem, like writing a business strategy? It usually gives a competent but incredibly shallow answer that misses all the real-world interdependencies.
Right. It gives you a bulleted list of cliches.
Exactly.
So to solve that, you use CAD, context-aware decomposition. You force the model to explicitly map out the problem's dependencies and constraints before it is allowed to attempt a solution.
You make it show its work.
Yeah, build the scaffolding before it builds the house.
And then there's the problem of hallucination. We typically view AI hallucination as a catastrophic failure, obviously. But for brainstorming genuinely novel ideas, it is brilliant. You can use CHI, controlled hallucination, for ideation.
Oh, I love this one. You deliberately instruct the model to extrapolate and hallucinate completely new concepts, but you enforce a strict mechanism. It must physically label every speculative idea with the word speculative.
Yeah, it safely quarantines creative ideation from factual misinformation.
Exactly.
Similarly, when you need deep analysis on a polarizing topic, a standard prompt usually results in a shallow pro-con list that just caricatures the arguments. Instead, you use MPS, multi-perspective simulation.
How does that work?
You force the model to inhabit 4 or 5 distinct viewpoints, and you instruct it to use intellectual charity. This forces the AI to articulate the strongest, most steelman version of each perspective before attempting to synthesize them.
That's powerful. But my absolute favorite tool for preventing authoritative-sounding garbage is CCP, Calibrated Confidence Prompted.
Oh, this is essential.
Yeah, you force the model to attach a confidence score to every single claim it makes. VC for virtually certain, HC for highly confident, MC for moderately confident, SP for speculative, and UK for unknown.
I use this every day.
It's so good. It forces the machine to visually expose exactly where its knowledge is weak so you don't blindly trust it.
It enforces epistemic honesty at the token level. Finally, there's output anchoring. This addresses cold start drift.
Right, which is when the model starts a response with that annoying preamble like, sure, I'd be happy to help you with that.
Yes, I hate that.
So to fix that, you just end your prompt with the exact opening of the format you want. If you want a piece of code to start, you end your prompt with an open curly bracket. If you want to rewrite, end your prompt with the word rewritten, followed by a space.
Because the model is blindly predicting the next token, you physically force it to instantly conform to your desired format. You cut out the conversational fluff entirely.
Precisely. The rigor of your structural prompt dictates the rigor of the machine's thinking. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started in a federal courtroom in Oakland, unpacking the $134 billion fight to unbake the legal soul of OpenAI. We explored how the technology has crossed the threshold into autonomous agents running our enterprise spreadsheets and mediating our group chats.
Right.
We contrasted the careful consensus mapping in medicine with the explosive, air-gapped military deployments where economic incentives are overriding employee protests.
Yeah.
We looked at the cloud computing wars and how DeepSeek is commoditizing raw intelligence. And finally, we gave you the practical toolkit to structurally tame these autoregressive models.
And as we step back from all of this, I want to leave you with a final thought to consider.
Go for it.
We are currently developing advanced techniques like calibrated confidence prompting, specifically to force our artificial intelligence to admit when it's unsure. We are forcing machines to label their speculations and to practice rigorous epistemic humility. But as we increasingly rely on these highly calibrated, rigorously honest machines to run everything from our legal research to our military planning, it raises a fascinating question. Will our daily exposure to this kind of forced intellectual honesty in machines finally compel us to demand the exact same level of calibrated confidence and humility from our human leaders and experts?
Wow, that is a brilliant question to end on. Because right now, trying to unbake the cake of this technological shift is impossible. The tectonic plates have moved, the digital landscape is forever changed, and the tools to navigate it are now in your hands. I highly encourage you to try out output anchoring on your next prompt today. Just drop that open bracket at the end and watch how it instantly sharpens the response. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.